Hello and good afternoon. I'm Hennepin. Welcome to Updates at Noon. A holistic approach is needed in order to curb COVID-19 infection among foreign workers, including illegal immigrants. Health Director General Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said the approach required cooperation from various agencies and parties. Dr. Nur Hisham said the Health Ministry has also discussed the issue of cramped cells at immigration detention depots with the National Security Council.
There is also one factor whereby if one case is positive, then definitely it will amplify the infection in small confined space. So it's part of our activity to look into the cause of infection. But at the moment, we can only say that it may be related to a confined space and also congested, crowded area. So we hope that the approach now we need to look into is a more multi-agency approach.
On cases spiking among detainees at depots, he said this was due to the second sampling results and those who were tested positive have been isolated. The number of positive COVID-19 cases reported yesterday again reached 3 digits with 277 cases recorded, of which 271 involved foreigners. A total of 270 cases among non-Malaysians were from the Bukit Jalil Immigration Detention Depot and which were repeat samples of those detained and quarantined there. Unregistered babysitters, nurseries and childcare centres are urged to register with the Women, Family and Community Development Ministry and the Department of Social Welfare, JKM. Senior Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said they are also required to adhere to the Standard Operating Procedures or SOP to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The senior minister, when making the call, said the government is aware that there are unregistered private nurseries and babysitters operating out there.
Kita bimbang taskar seperti ini kerana penjaga anak-anak tersebut tidak mendapat sebarang latihan pun. Jadi kalau ada perkara-perkara yang tidak baik berlaku, itu adalah di luar tanggungjawab daripada pihak kerajaan, daripada pihak kementerian kerana tidak berdaftar. Jadi yang pertamanya saya menyerulah kepada tadika persendirian ini yang walaupun menjaga 3-4 orang anak sekalipun supaya berdaftar.
Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri said babysitters, nurseries and childcare centres are urged to download the COVID-19 Infection Prevention Guide, Post-Movement Control Order for the Safety of Childcare Centres from KPWKM or JKM's websites. So far, 7,901 registered nurseries have applied to resume operations. Meanwhile, the Malaysian Armed Forces ATM will not be deploying any more teams to serve at the Malaysian Field Hospital in Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh during the COVID-19 pandemic period. Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri said this decision was taken as a preventive measure to contain the outbreak.
Kita memang ada mengantar 56 anggota di Cox's Bazar, tetapi semua mereka telah pun kita panggil balik apabila COVID-19 mula melanda. Jadi tidak ada lagi anggota tentera ATM ni, Angkatan Tentera Malaysia ni yang berada di Cox's Bazar. Tidak ada lagi.
The Malaysian Field Hospital began operations at the end of 2017 to ease the stress of the influx of some 700,000 Rohingya refugees escaping the unrest in northern Rakhine in Myanmar since August the same year. Health Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Adham Baba stressed that the COVID-19 outbreak is categorized under Article 30, First Schedule of the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act 1988, Act 342, which is any microbial infection which is life-threatening. He was responding to allegations that the Movement Control Order, or MCO, was not within the law, as COVID-19 was not gazetted under the Act. In a statement issued yesterday, the minister explained that the COVID-19 was a new pandemic which occurred throughout the world. Hence, amendments to the first Schedule Act 342 to list the COVID-19 outbreak as an infectious disease must be made through the powers of the minister under Section 30, Act 342. Details of last night's Parti Pribumi Bersatu Malaysia or Bersatu's Supreme Council meeting will be announced at a media conference today. Bersatu Secretary General Dato Sri Hamzah Zainuddin said all questions regarding discussions at the meeting would be answered at the media conference.
Tomorrow I will do
PC?
I will do PC.
Okay.
And I will
Tentang apa Dato'?
semua perbincangan yang telah pun kita buat tadi akan kita keluarkan pada besok hari. Perbincangan tadi banyak sangat satu persatu, sebab itu saya akan jelaskan besok hari lebih mudah daripada saya nak buat sekejap ni. Saya minta banyak-banyak terima kasih kepada semua yang menunggu. Walau bagaimanapun saya minta maaf kerana tak dapat nak buat pada malam ini. InsyaAllah besok, okey?
He also confirmed that there was no discussion to cooperate with UMNO during the meeting. Earlier, Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, who is also the Bersatu President, arrived at the clubhouse of Persatuan Alumni University Malaya at 8:24 p.m. to chair the meeting before leaving at about 11:40 p.m. Police arrested 4 men believed to have been involved in hardware store break-ins and using the stolen items for their contractor business following 2 operations in Sungai Buloh. Gombak District Police Chief ACP Arifai Tarawe said in a raid conducted at 12:10 p.m. on Wednesday, police arrested the 4, including 2 foreigners, at a house in Kampung Baru Kundang, Sungai Buloh.
Kelima-lima suspek ini berumur antara 38 hingga 49 tahun. Suspek yang pertama itu mempunyai 6 rekod lampau dan juga mereka telah sekarang ini telah direman selama 4 hari bermula hari ini sehingga 7 hari bulan Jun.
Briefing reporters at the Rawang police station yesterday, ACP Arifai added that police managed to arrest the mastermind known as Bob Kundang, and a search revealed that the suspect has 6 previous criminal records, including drug-related cases. He said apart from several vehicles believed to have been stolen, police also seized chainsaws and metal-cutting pliers, as well as transparent packets believed to contain methamphetamine and heroin. Another man was later arrested at a workshop in Merbau Sempat, Sungai Buloh, where 2 trucks were seized. Five cars were badly damaged when a factory bus, which experienced brake problems, slammed into them at Jalan Paya Trubung, Georgetown. In last night's incident, the 67-year-old bus driver, along with 7 passengers, escaped with minor injuries. According to Timo District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Sofian Santong, initial investigations revealed the incident happened when the bus suddenly had a brake problem. This resulted in the driver swerving to the left side of the road and knocking into a concrete structure and skidded back onto the road before it knocked into 5 cars which were parked there. The incident is being investigated under Section 43, subsection 1 of the Road Transport Act 1987. Air Asia may lay off hundreds to pare down operations. Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin is set to announce the short-term economic recovery plan this afternoon and will be broadcast live by local television stations and social media networks at 3 p.m. Now, the recovery plan for June to December 2020 will be focusing on 3 main goals, namely empowering the people, propelling businesses and stimulating the economy to pave the way to recovery and growth. This is on top of the previously announced Prihatin Rakyat economic stimulus package worth 260 billion ringgit to revive the economy and cushion the impact of COVID-19 on businesses and livelihoods of the people. In drafting this plan, the government's approach was based on 4 characteristics, namely to be agile and dynamic, prioritizing public-private sector cooperation, ensuring comprehensive communication by upholding transparency and openness, as well as using data-based approach. This short-term economic recovery plan represents an opportunity for people to take advantage of new opportunities arising from the COVID-19 crisis for the sake of the nation's future development. On Tuesday, Finance Minister Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Abdul Aziz said the short-term economic recovery plan is the 4th of the 6-phase approach, or 6R, in weathering the health and economic challenges due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Hotel operators affected by the COVID-19 pandemic expressed hope that the government could provide 50% discount on their monthly electricity bills, as well as increasing the wage subsidy program rate. Malaysian Association of Hotels, or MAH, Chief Executive Officer Yap Lip Singh said the current stimulus package was not sufficient enough for the hotel industry to cushion the impact of COVID-19, whereby most of them suffered big losses throughout the movement control order.
We have actually requested and proposed a 50% subsidy on wages of employees of up to a basic salary of 4,000 and another 30% subsidy for those with between 4,000 to 8,000. This is important because we have to address the jobs of these people who are employed in the hotel and the hospitality industry. And to protect the jobs of people, we must first protect the businesses. So we hope that this economic recovery plan is going to be addressing this major concern.
Explaining further, Yap said the government would also need to review taxes, licenses and permits to avoid further losses in the hotel industry. Malaysia's exports are expected to improve in the coming months as the government allowed more industries to resume operations and at full operating capacity since 4th May. International Trade and Industry Minister Datuk Sri Mohammad Azmin Ali said, similarly, companies in other countries are also ramping up their business operations, and this will boost trade activities between Malaysia and other countries. Currently, Malaysia's trade in April 2020 amounted to 133.34 billion ringgit, a decrease of 16.4% compared with April 2019 due to COVID-19. The declines were expected given that most countries around the world were under some form of lockdown, which has caused major disruptions to the manufacturing activities and movement of goods globally. Malaysia's exports contracted by 23.8% to 64.92 billion ringgit, while imports decreased by 8% to 68.42 billion ringgit. Employees who have not received payments under the Wage Subsidy Program (PSU) and Employee Retention Program (ERP) from employers can file a complaint with the Social Security Organisation or SOCSO. SOCSO's Chief Executive Officer Datuk Sri Dr. Muhammad Azman Aziz Mohamad said enforcement action could be taken against irresponsible employers who fail to make these payments. He said employees can check if their employer has received the wage subsidy payment via the list at SOCSO website.
Saya ingin tegaskan bahawa majikan yang telah mendapat bayaran PSU dan program pengekalan pekerjaan atau ERP perlu menyalurkannya kepada pekerja-pekerja yang layak. Jika majikan tidak berbuat demikian, pekerja boleh membuat aduan kepada Pekeso melalui talian hotline kami ataupun hadir ke mana-mana pejabat Pekeso berdekatan.
According to Datuk Sri Dr. Muhammad Azman, SOCSO has approved 288,544 applications from the employers. He said of the total, 283,986 employers have received the first wage subsidy payments, while 169,322 employers have received the second payments. AirAsia Berhad may lay off more than 300 employees to pare down its operations amid the COVID-19 pandemic, as reported by various media outlets. The layoffs, said to have been announced by Chief Executive Officer Riyad Asmat during an internal briefing session yesterday, are expected to involve 111 cabin crew members, 172 pilots and 50 engineers. The report said everyone involved in the job cuts will be notified by email within 24 hours, adding that AirAsia also promises compensation to all involved. Riyadh was quoted as saying that there are no other options to ensure that the low-cost carrier continues to operate like before. The organization's restructuring is a viable alternative at present due to the difficult global economic situation. The report also stated that long-haul budget carrier AirAsia X will also reduce its workforce, including foreign employees. No specific number of employees was announced, but the proposed job cuts will affect various sectors of the workforce, including management, operations, crew and pilots. Coming up on the foreign front, bail set at up to $1 million for 3 ex-Minneapolis police officers. 3 now former Minneapolis police officers had bail set at up to $1 million at their arraignment Thursday on charges of aiding and abetting a 4th cop in the alleged murder of George Floyd, a black man whose Memorial Day death while in their custody has led to more than a week of protests nationwide over police brutality. But with certain conditions, the 3 men could be released on bail of $750,000 apiece, according to Judge Paul Scoggin, before ordering them to next appear in court on 29th June. Those bail conditions include not working in any law enforcement capacity, surrendering any firearms, avoiding their firearm permits, having no contact with Floyd's family, and agreeing to waive extradition should they leave the state of Minnesota. The hearing in Hennepin County District Court came a day after Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison charged the men, Alexander Queng, 26, Thomas Lane, 37, and 34-year-old Tu Thao, with aiding and abetting both second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. The trio had assisted another Minneapolis police officer, Derek Chauvin, in arresting the 46-year-old Floyd on 25th May on suspicion of making a purchase with a counterfeit $20 bill. None of the 3 entered pleas to the charges after they were brought into Scoggin's courtroom. Meanwhile, U.S. civil rights groups on Thursday filed a case suing President Donald Trump after security forces fired pepper balls and smoke bombs to clear peaceful demonstrators outside the White House. Law enforcement officers forced protesters back before Trump walked to a nearby church for a photo op on Monday that divided the United States amid nationwide protests over police brutality. The American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, and other groups accused the president and top officials of violating the constitutional rights of Black Lives Matter campaigners and individual protesters. The ACLU said police conducted a coordinated and unprovoked charge into the crowd of demonstrators and deployed several rounds of chemical irritants, rubber bullets, and sound cannons. St. John's Episcopal Church is across the street from the Lafayette Park, which faces the White House and has been the focus of protests in Washington. The church was defaced with graffiti and damaged in a fire during demonstrations on Sunday night. Protesters have taken to the streets across the U.S. in recent days to voice anger over the killing of African-American George Floyd by Minnesota police. Attorney General Bill Barr on Thursday defended security forces and said clearing the protesters was not linked to Trump walking to the church. Taiwan called on China to atone for the 1989 Tiananmen crackdown on Thursday as the island marked the anniversary of the day student-led protests were violently crushed by tanks with small vigils of its own. Hundreds of people were killed during the Communist Party's suppression of demonstrations calling for democratic reforms. Open discussion of the incident is forbidden on the Chinese mainland, with censors scrubbing mentions of protests and dissidents often visited by police in the days leading up to the 4th June anniversary. Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen said on Twitter that around the world there are 365 days in a year, yet in China one of those days is purposely forgotten each year. Tsai said Beijing needed to confront the legacy of the incident, just as Taiwan had been forced to reckon with its own authoritarian past before its transition to democracy in the 1990s. Hundreds gathered in Taipei for a candlelight vigil to mourn the Tiananmen dead, according to organizers. Some of those in the crowd were Hong Kongers who have relocated to the island following last year's tumultuous pro-democracy protests, which were fueled by years of rising fears that Beijing was stamping out the city's freedom. Coming up, AC Milan's Zlatan Ibrahimovic out for another 10 days. Zlatan Ibrahimovic will be out of action for another 10 days with a calf injury. His club AC Milan said this on Thursday after the Swede underwent further medical tests. The 38-year-old has undergone a checkup following the injury to his right soleus muscle. The veteran striker was the subject of some concern last month after a training ground injury. He sustained the injury in training with a club he rejoined during the season's winter transfer window. Initial reports suggested Ibrahimovic may have suffered a serious Achilles blow, yet scans showed the tendon was intact and the Swede had instead damaged his soleus muscle. 10 days on, the club are happy with how Ibrahimovic is progressing. His recovery is proceeding well without complications and a new checkup is expected, according to the Serie A club. AC Milan returned to Serie A action amid the coronavirus pandemic on 22nd June, although they first have a Coppa Italia semi-final second leg against Juventus. Ibrahimovic, who signed on a free transfer from LA Galaxy in January, has scored 4 goals in 10 games in all competitions since returning to AC Milan, but was already suspended for the Coppa tie. Now, Chelsea are closing in on a deal to sign striker Timo Werner from RB Leipzig. British media reported on Thursday the 24-year-old had been thought to be attracting interest from Premier League champions-elect Liverpool, but it appears Chelsea have in fact met the Germans' reported release clause of some £53 million. If Chelsea were to bring Werner to Stamford Bridge, it would be a major feather in the cap for the West London club. For the past year, there has been speculation linking Werner to a move to Anfield, but time appears to be running out for the Reds, with the forward's release clause expiring on 15th June, 2 days before the Premier League is set to restart after a coronavirus-enforced break of several months. The German international has scored 31 goals for Leipzig in all competitions and has helped Julian Nagelsmann side to reach the Champions League quarter-finals. Chelsea have already agreed a deal to sign Ajax winger Hakim Ziyech. Chelsea, fourth in the league when it was suspended in March, were under a transfer embargo last summer and have funds available after not making signings in January. The NBA's Board of Governors approved a return-to-play plan on Thursday, paving the way for the league to resume in Florida following a 3-month coronavirus shutdown. Now, the NBA said a proposal put to the league's board, which will see 22 teams based at a single location, had passed comfortably. 9 teams voted in favour of the return-to-play plan, with Portland the lone vote against, according to reports. Under the NBA's proposals, the league would resume on 31st July with 22 teams based at Disney's ESPN Wide World of Sports complex in Orlando to minimise the threat of COVID-19. Games will be played without spectators. Playoffs would take place in August, with the NBA Finals set to be completed by 12th October. The league has also penciled in a provisional 1st December start date for the 2020-2021 season. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, following the vote, said in a statement that the board's approval of the restart format is a necessary step toward resuming the NBA season. The NBA Players Association must sign off on the restart plan for it to take effect and is expected to vote on the plan during a conference call set for Friday. The NBA suspended its season on 11th March as the COVID-19 pandemic erupted, leaving professional sport in North America at a standstill. The league plans for teams to start training camps in their home cities on 30th June before travelling to Orlando on 7th July. The NBA is first major professional sports league disrupted by the coronavirus outbreak in North America to confirm a return date. And that's it from us this afternoon. In our top story today, holistic approach needed to contain COVID-19 among migrants. News on 2 comes on at 7 this evening. I'm Mohana Priya. Thanks for watching.